Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. Hello, everyone. I wanted to be honest, I gotta tell you some things, whoever is tuning in. Tonight, I'm feeling a bit, believe it or not, slightly nauseous. I'm exhausted, and I smoked a lot of cigarettes today, so my, voice sounds a bit raspy, but whatever, because for me, to get the ideas out there is like still a worthy service. So, dear human being, because I'm exhausted, because I'm tired, okay, I'm just gonna speak to you as if how I would have spoken to you after the 10,000 talks. Somebody in the chat section says, ask me a question. Well, fellow listener, the title of the episode is a question. So there you go. Your first quest has, in some sense, appeared. In reality, I want to speak about something that I haven't spoken about before. I have pointed to, but never directly dedicated an episode to. And whoever is tuning in, just to, add to the vibe, I would appreciate it if you, bring a piece of paper and maybe get yourself, a cup of tea or something. And I want you to sit at your desk and receive a briefing. I want to at least, I know it is too soon, like it's ahead of its time what I'm saying, but I want to give human beings on the planet who listen to this podcast a sense that they are receiving briefings. A briefing means something noteworthy has occurred in regards to the overall event. First of all, somebody in the chat section, jumped ahead. Good job. But let me tell you, honestly, where I'm at. Because I've repeated for a bunch of episodes my theological perspective and the system admin, and pretty much the shift from 2023 version of me till now is that I have found an interest to work with the administrator, system admin. That means before I was left alone in an empty giant room and I had to figure things out, and that led to a certain conclusion of what to be, how to be, or what to look at. And upon reaching a moment in my life where I was imprisoned by my own self-worship. And what that means is I reached the moment where I had the energy to try to solve the problem, but it was like it was impossible. It's like, right now humanity is graced with the temporary and speeds of life that have not reached infinitude. Right? Like trying to be a pilot at light speed in a spaceship, and you're like, yo man, what medical precautions do you take? What I want to say is that for me, it's like pretty much religion to me is like a laptop. This might sound bizarre, okay? But this is a cool metaphor. I honestly feel this. For me, it's like giving a modern human being who's just sitting somewhere a laptop is in some sense giving access to an intelligent system. Now, the cool thing is, you are inside an intelligent system. Okay? So that's what's going on. It's not empty room, just rocks and stuff, and just creatures that roamed for a little while and their legacy was pointless from the pointlessness of how vast everything was. Like, dear listeners, like I respect the scientific endeavor, but how are you going to index the whole cosmos to be accurate? That means our certainties as a species in some sense are unprovable. So believe it or not, it's not possible to prove to you something that you don't acknowledge real. And I'll tell you a basic story of it. And if there's any atheists listening, like, this is how religious people pretty much feel. Okay? Imagine there's someone who this is an ancient like story, okay, I'm telling you. But it's the story of the rope and the snake. It's a popular metaphor in ancient times, where ropes and snakes could be easily confused. One day, there's a bunch of friends living in a house. Bunch of friends living in a house, and one day one of the friends goes into one room, and there's a kind of rope there, but it's kind of like circularized, and like it's kind of like how it's set up. And so this guy goes in the room and just thinks it's a snake. Like, he doesn't, like, his brain can't fathom this rope that has a knot at the end is like not a snake, right? And this guy is so scared. That means his brain overreacts to the situation to the degree that his overreaction is no longer in reality. So this dude quickly runs out of the room, bangs the door shut, and the other friends quickly come out of their rooms and they're like, yo man, what's going on? Right? And he tells them there's a snake, and he's like pale white. And his friends are like, holy shit. And one of them's like trying to like, relax his friend, and he's like, hey man, at least you caught the snake. Let us look at it though, And the guy's trembling with fear outside because he saw a snake. The friends go inside and they look at each other and they start like laughing to themselves. And they see it's a piece of rope. One of the friends doesn't even care, thinks this is a waste of time, leaves. The other friend is there and he's like, my God, what is this shenanigans? And he, in some sense, goes up to the person who thinks, in some sense, the rope is a snake, okay? And he's like, buddy, it's not, look, I'm holding it in my hand. It's not a snake, it's a rope. And the person's like, you're the bravest soul I've met, but I'm not stepping into that room. I know what I saw. I believe in what I saw. Like, we can even see the wrong thing. Like, there's optical illusions, and people are like, I need to see it to believe it. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard, man. Like, this world could be simulated. It could have levels beyond our perception. It could be animate in ways that we cannot fathom, and our species should not be closed-minded and inside its closed-minded box thinking it's open-minded. Oh, dear humanity, you know deep down that there are dimensions to you. You know deep down that you are there's a body to you. You know deep down that this body has a name, has a story. You have memories. That's your mind. But guess what? That moment where you have to decide between A, B, C, D, that's purely the soul. Prior, it's as if before I choose what thought I am, how can I even be a thought? So you're not a thought, but what is your relationship with your soul? And I'm pretty much that human being that attempted my own methods and pretty much took a wrong turn. And I was committing a major sin, which is called shirk, where I was bringing the attention of people to me when I should have been taking it to the system admin, where when the attention of people goes to the system admin, automatically advancement happens. So let's say lower self advancement is like a soul, like, comes in human form, and it's like, everybody wake the F up, the future generations are going to be disappointed how ignorant we are. What the fuck is this? Like, the species has a responsibility to its greater self, and da-da-da-da-da. That's the lower self motivating other lower selves. The higher self thinks whether it's an advanced civilization, whether it's advanced versions of other beings, or whether it's advanced versions of ourselves, it's ultimately going to one advancement. So what religion is for those who want to connect to the original power of the realm. Do you understand? Like, just think about this. And if you have a question, ask what I'm telling you. Like, think about it. Right now, if there were two options, imagine all the other ways of living were just for a second forgotten. We're like, there's two options here. One option, you live as a simulated temporary being, which is meaningless, or you live as the simulation that realized, that understood the original. When I pray, I am not just praying to something that's a concept. It's a presence. To me, the might of God is like the majesty of design. Just like those kids who went to Willy Wonka and they were like, oh my God, is that a chocolate tree? Oh my God, is that a chocolate, internet cafe? Imagine futuristic Willy Wonka. Willy Wonka, not Willow Wonky. Imagine, like, that's next level, man. Just creating culture. In a parallel universe, Willow Wonky has infinite internet cafes made of chocolate. Just like that feeling, you have entered a palace, right? And the king is there. I don't know if you're one of those souls, but I'm that soul that, how can I tell you? I pretty much climbed a bunch of staircases of egoic constructs, of senses of self that my soul has sailed through. That means I wouldn't say I am my ideas. These, just even me communicating now, it's like my soul is sailing through this moment, through its animation, its expression, right? By the way, somebody in the chat section said, Heru, can you please explain what you mean by that? Maybe it'd be interesting for everybody. So anyways, guys, I'm going to continue, because what is important here Is like they're like, yo man, do you want an egotistical simulation? It's gonna feel fucking good, but you're gonna feel at the end it was meaningless, but it's gonna feel good, but at the end it's meaningless, but it's gonna feel fucking good, right? And people are like, man, like, why shouldn't I fucking be in a desire loop? Why shouldn't life just be a cloud? Like as if like I'm in a cloud all the time, not like a cyber cloud. That shit's like not from my era. Like I've prepared in 2024 just to have it said, if one day I have kids, right, that in the future there will come a time where they will ask me, they're like, Dad, can I connect my brain to the internet that's like whatever it is, right? And I'll be like, son, go stare at the sun for 20 minutes and remember your origins, and who created the sun, I mean, that'd be too much, It's like, yo, time out, go stare at the sun. Guys, I'm one of those people. If tomorrow somebody's like Mr. Within, we have this space station like prepared, and it's like, are you willing to go and govern it and be a mayor of that like interstellar space city? And I'd be like, yes, I love the earth, but in some sense there is something coming to me as the void. I'm one of those people who like, the day is beautiful to me, but the night is wise, is calm, is watching, silent, hearing everything, Throughout the years of giving these talks, in my inner realms, which means I've used my visual ability, internal visual ability, cinematic ability to visualize versions of myself, right? But now I am not in that spirituality game anymore. And you're gonna be like, why, Mr. Within? You were like at the frontiers of it. Why'd you suddenly shift gears? And I'd be like, because guys, it's self-destructive. And that word doesn't mean in a bad way. It could be self-destructive in a good way. Do you know that means you're no longer a self? But that's not the point of life. Imagine like a director, an actor on a film set suddenly forgets he was an actor and thinks like, he's like, wait a minute, my name's not Charlie, which is the name of the character I'm playing. My name is Bob, right? And then he's like, why is everybody calling me Charlie? And the director's like, buddy, just say your lines. Just perform. It's way vaster than just the temporary performance of a form. So somebody's given answer to what Heru means in the chat section. I still want you to explain it a bit more. Try to bring it to modern times. Try to see what it would mean in modern times. Like a modern archetypal revival of it. Not revival of it, archetypal metaphor. Like I'm trying to say, like, could Heru be the internet? Like in the modern times? I don't know. Like, anyways, guys, to continue. For me, you know what it is? Let me tell you what it is. I think it has to do with my upbringing. And it has to do with me being a kid and playing video games equivalent to like, Generals Command and Conquer, right? And also playing, what do you call it? Not World of Warcraft, Warcraft Frozen Throne, Reign of Chaos, Reign of Chaos, and Warcraft Frozen Throne. So guys, like, for modern listeners, if you're like I've noticed that most of the listeners are older than me, right? But not most. I mean, how do I know? I'll check the demographics later, right? But I want to say, like, you know what it is? I'm that person who has to deal in his life every day with this notion of, I'm seeing a better version of civilization, but I am condemned to living in this one. Yeah. Guys, when I played back to the video game stuff, right? So when I played Warcraft, so I have a twin brother and I want to paint a scenario for you. Imagine like I was in grade 4, right, in Iran, right? And I went to an international school there. And guys, me and my brother would play Warcraft and Warcraft Frozen Throne, and we'd install it in computers on CDs, right? And I remember we would play it in my grandmother, like my how would I say it? My grandmother's house. Underneath it, my uncle was trying to design a video game. Unfortunately, he didn't follow up with it, but he was like, there was like some tech guy there. Anyways. So where am I going with this? Isn't that what we're all wondering? Guys, to be honest, let me tell you why religion is to me a way more important area of consideration than spirituality. Because religion is, and I'm Muslim, like I'm pretty much like a Muslim sci-fi writer giving a lecture. Okay, I was a sci-fi writer before I truly became Muslim, understood Islam, where I truly realized God is real. There's a system admin here, it's epic. It's amazing. We shouldn't fight over the details when, like, you know, the general command is there. You see, that means I'm speaking not to just you, whatever you think you are, whatever people think you are, whatever the world sees you, whatever. I am speaking to someone who has been designed by God. Your ears, your soul, in some sense, it was crafted by the uncaused. It's a power beyond human fathoming. So pretty much spirituality, once you, like when you're young, I understand the enthusiasm for it. But as you get older, you realize, all right, or like, does it make sense to manage the world we're in and then go to the next worlds? Or do we just like mess around, you know? So my suggestion to you is, whoever's listening, religion, think of it this way: spirituality is for those who are still dealing with moderators, right? Moderators are deities. People who directly go to God are dealing with the system admin. So one is dealing with a higher authority in the simulation, but still a simulation. The other is going directly to the original. So if somebody was like Mr.Within, you've had so many, like, you know, unique experiences that you've shared throughout the years in these talks. How would they compare to you? How would they compare to your relationship with God, like your relationship with spirituality, with spirits, with beings, other beings? I would say this: spirituality leads you to infinity, and infinity leads you to meaninglessness. And that meaninglessness cannot be overcome by the individual bound to the conditional world. So then you realize it's just the next phase. It's the next level, folks. That before there is any need for any extraterrestrial or advance or whatever, let's connect to it's like literally connecting to a power source, but it's not a power source inside the simulation. So guys, I understand your views. I used to have this view that God is non-duality, right? That in some sense, I mean, technically God, because it's beyond form, is non-dual. But this is where I am different now from, like, let's say my audience, which is strange, is that I do not see everybody as God. I am not like the yogis anymore. Okay? Let me tell you why. So I have found a more advanced system than karma and enlightenment. Way more advanced. Way more advanced than just, concentration. It's to live in this world through the force field of the original creator. That's what prayer is. That's what being ethical is. That's what drawing a line of where impure and pure is. That is where if you deviate from that line and you do something impure, if this is where your character is being tested, you need to pull yourself to purity, right? And I do this constantly, to the degree that when they said man is born in sin, it's not just man is born in sin. The way man behaves can be not only sinful to others, but to himself. You could be the most kindest person to others, to the world. Animals love you. Okay, the animals probably would back off, but you could be to yourself like a very bitter person. I lived that life. Do you believe it? There were years, not years, but I would say there was probably like months where I was deep down feeling bitter about the state of everything. And yet in the outer realms, I was like, advanced mankind, screw my feelings. Like, how important are my emotions when the legacy of the species is way beyond just like one human being recording a podcast, It's a podcast now. In the future, we're going to cast pods into space. So I have a relationship with the creator. And let me tell you something hilarious, right? In the moments where let me tell you why religion, everything became better after I let go. I submitted my ego. I was like, all right, I don't know. And that's when I did. So if somebody called me Heru in the chat section, the moment I decided I am not Heru, I am nothing. I am legit nothing, right? And everything else that happens is mercy. You don't, like, you might think like, whoa, religious sentence, but no, there's a reality behind it. You see, my relationship is not like, like a phone call to God and God's like, responds. It's not like that. It's out of trying to pull myself out of the dimension of shame, ignorance, foolishness, and all the ways I could have been better that I wasn't. You don't understand. It's like if you have a mind that can see not just only your past probabilities and future probabilities to yourself, after some point, the possibilities of what could have happened could have been so ingenious in calculation that it just depresses you how you've lived, right? I've had moments like this where I've been like, man, there are controllable and uncontrollable factors. What does that mean? That means when life, like I hope the species can bypass needing this and kind of like God blesses us with a greater path, right? But it's kind of like when you see worshiping yourself, pretty much putting your attention on yourself doesn't work. Putting your attention on others doesn't work. Putting your attention on the world doesn't work. And then you're like, then what? And then let's say they're like hard work, you do hard work, it doesn't work. Then they're like karma, you're like, okay, service, and it doesn't work. And then you're like, okay, wait a minute, wake up. Wake up, self that thought only his actions were being the result of reality towards him. There's a system admin here. It's like we're in someone's house, but it's world sized. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like the world has an owner. Like if somebody comes to your house and it's like, and you're like, hey man, all right, you were a guest long enough. I've been hospitable. Now I need to sleep. Like, get out of here, right? And imagine the person's like, no man, this isn't your house. I don't believe that there is such a concept that the house can even have an owner. The house, just after a very long time, without even an architect or anything, just through natural development, was here. And that's why, it's like, nobody owns your house, so now I own it. Do you see that shenanigans? Human beings in every areas of their life are acting as if there's a system admin. Laws are invisibly administering us. The concept of time and just pretty much ideas are invisibly administering us. You know how people communicate administers us, right? What I mean by administers us, it influences. Guys, the point of religion is that you cannot know yourself. So if you're spiritual, this is the argument that religion is giving to the spiritual person, right? So a spiritual person, which was me, I went and I'm like, okay, what does Islam say about the soul? And Islam says something very magnificent. It says the soul is the secret of God. That's it. Now check this out. Just check this out for a second. The soul is the secret of God. Now, all these yogis, all these gurus, everybody trying to know themselves, technically it's unknowable. Okay? It's a secret of God. So life is not about just knowing, being spiritual and just knowing the soul. Right? So what religion is saying is, if you cannot know yourself, it doesn't mean you're not being yourself, but it just means that the true depths of the spiritual core. So usually if you find like a system, in the future they might use the word core a lot, right? They're like, okay, what's its core, right? Everything, like that word is going to become super popular, right? I'm trying to tell you that religion is saying, hey, stop thinking so highly of yourself that you trap yourself in your own room. Step out of your own room. Realize that this is a system, that we can see the design work of this system. We can see its designs. And because we see its designs, in some sense it is very obvious that it's like it's been calculated. Or where our nostrils are, it's calculated. The heart, just the anatomy of the body is just bizarre. So, what can fill this void that the world creates is a suggestion. Guys, if you're truly engaged like with this Mr.Within stuff, come and give life to the Discord server. It's fucking like an ancient relic at this point, you know? It's kind of like abandoned digital real estate. So pretty much the thing I wanted to say is that as the species walks forward, the way I have, at least as one human being, experienced that the world creates a void in you is because the world is too big to figure out. Okay, there's so many dimensions to it. We are bound by our position of perception. And regardless of our opinions, there is a system admin and even an uncaused mover of causation. That means if cause if the if causality caused the effect, the uncaused caused causality. So the uncaused caused the effect, which is, I believe, the religion algorithm. Anyways, I don't know if people in the chat section are encouraging me to like end the episode, but I am pretty much reaching the finale. Pretty much, I just wanted to say, like, yo, human beings out there in the world, as one human being, just this is my attitude. I'm giving feedback, giving a feedback report to the human species, but also I am performing in the presence of the Almighty, that which is way more important than any form in the world to establish a relationship with. You hearing me? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Was that audible before? So, I actually want to hear this sound. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most merciful, the most benevolent. Now, I want you to look at this sentence. This is my recent finding and fascination with religion, that the word all forgiving, that there is an all forgiving possibility to all. You see, when God is all forgiving, yet human beings go to heaven and hell, technically for eternity, it hasn't been said what God does after human beings are in eternity. It could be like human beings, the after like judgment day where human beings have gone to heaven and hell, right? God's like, all right, I'm all forgiving. You're all forgiven. You went through it, whatever, like all forgiven. Right? It could be because it said that in the Holy Quran, right? And for me, you know, I've always had a fascination previously through a spiritual mystical view of looking at religious books, but now it's more like it's easy. It's like it's simplified to try to study. You see, because guys, the Quran is not a work of art. It's not poetry. The Holy Quran is in some sense a confirmation. It's a holy book that's just confirming things. That's the attitude, right? And so the whole point is, once you choose, it's like religion is for those who've experienced the limitations of free will. Yeah. Somebody's saying that in the chat section. Yeah, that's my view, right? That's a feeling I have. I don't know. The whole point is it's God's decree. The whole point is it feels good to say I don't know because the Almighty is there. The system admin is there. And now even if a moderator whispers into my ear, I'll be like, yo man, the system admin, I'm with that guy, you know? I'm with that, not with that guy. It's not a form. It's like I'm with the original. It's like I'd rather be with the original power than, you know, just be an egotistical form in an endlessly, infinitely cycling realm. Like, you know, like what? How much technology are we going to create till the end of time? Like, can we relax? Anyways, guys, the whole point is Nothing. The only thing that has changed is that I would say, hey, let's advance civilization, right? But now I say, hey, let's advance civilization in the sight of the most advanced power, in the sight of the one and only God. I'm a singularian now. And this is a very huge shift. And the reason this shift was possible in my psyche was because I prayed and the proof of God being real came. So I have no doubt. I'm done with shirk. I'm done with like calling the moderators or members or, just anytime you need help, directly go to the system admin. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. How vast, how mighty, how great. Like that's what we are establishing a relationship with. The original greatness of being. Not a claim of the ego, yo bro, all through oneness, I can be God. Like what the F? Like, I'll even scold 80-year-old men, right? Who think they're one God, like because that it's like you're ignoring your position. What was so wrong with being a human being that you had to suddenly be God? There's no God but God, guys. Come on. Exactly. I mean that's my view. The original. That means see the sentence La ilaha illallah. There is no God but God. In a secular way, could be said that there is no simulation other than the original. So the simulated beings are all being administered by the original. Relax and try to understand it. Thank you for listening. Good night.